I have a question I want to know for people. I want to ask people. Um, I was, listening, going through some videos and stuff on some of my feeds, and I came across one that really that I had to speak on. That got me to thinking because this was a video from somebody who's into health, talking about they're a vegan, they're into health, and they're trying to encourage other people to get more into health. And yet they said they were in the military and was in active combat. And they were boasting about it. They were proud of it. They call this country great, and they are so proud of their service and that they were in active combat, and that they did a video and they're linking this to being healthy, to being in good health. And I'm just was really taken aback by that. Because I didn't think that was a thing, that you could be a vegan and pro-military. We're in active wars. The United States has been actively engaged in war for going on 19 years with no end game in sight. So please tell me how somebody could be into health and yet be pro-military. Is this a healthy society that we live in? I want to challenge that. I want to challenge that perception of health. It is not just about my physical body or one's physical body, or is it to some people? Do you really think that you're really healthy? Healthiness is supposed to encompass a sense of well-being that extends beyond the physical, beyond my physical existence. It should extend beyond that. I can't be healthy if I walk out into an environment that is filled with pollutants and toxins. That's going to impact our way of life. It is going to impact it. I think we need to redefine what health is. Because you might have a situation where maybe your body is not showing certain signs, and maybe your body is physically okay to a certain extent, but does that mean that we are healthy? I challenge people to really look at what health is supposed to mean. How can you be healthy if you live in such an unhealthy environment? And the United States, the Pentagon, the U.S. military is the biggest polluter in the world. They cause more destruction to the environment than any other country does. And you know who pays for that destruction that the United States causes? Who pays for it? Poorer countries that don't have the resources, nor are they wired to want to even try to challenge and combat some of what the United States is doing. They're just trying to protect themselves and live. Because I think it's kind of a good thing to not have a mindset where you want to just destroy the world, and the only way your only relationship to other countries is by bombing them and trying to control people, stealing their resources. I think that is a very unhealthy mindset. I don't think there's anything healthy about that way of living at all. And all we see is the continued conditioning, the normalization of this behavior. And it should be challenged. It has got to be challenged. My grandmother told me a long time ago when I was a little girl, and I've never forgot this. She didn't preach about it. She just, like, one of the things she told me, and she said that whenever there is war, there will always be a lot more violence domestically. And that seems to hold true, what she's saying. I mean, when you have continuous war, you are literally conditioning people, you are literally conditioning your citizens to be on a war footing, to examine everything, to see every problem from a war footing. We have war metaphors in medicine. Do you know how that affects people? Do you know how that affects treatment? How that conditions people to accept the harshest, most invasive treatment as solution? Do you know how that affects people and their medical decisions? There are literally studies about the amount of war metaphors. And so when a doctor tells you have to go in there and yank it out now, you got to go in there and rip it, you got to go in there and cut and all of that stuff, that conditions a person's mind to accepting that, oh, this is the only way that this situation can be accomplished, and I have to do it now. I've got to do it now. There isn't time to think about it. We've got to do it now. That just conditions them to accepting that. I mean, the United States, mass shootings are becoming normalized, like I shouldn't say normalized, but are becoming common, are increasingly common. Mass shootings. You have people who are homeless. Homelessness is normal. Like, homelessness is an everyday thing. There's nothing uncommon to be walking down the street and stepping over people. And yet now they have people who have jobs and are homeless. They are living in their cars. But yet, the way that many states are addressing that issue, you want to know how they're addressing that issue? They're making it illegal to live in your cars. They are not addressing the issue of people being homeless, people who are working and cannot afford to pay their rent because their salaries and wages are not keeping up with this outrageous cost of living, and nobody is stopping these developers from raising the rents and the prices of homes, from overinflating them to some outrageous value that people can't afford to meet those costs because their wages aren't keeping up with those kind of costs. So they're living in their cars. And some states have taken to resolving that problem with people living in their cars by making it illegal for people to live in their cars. And then other states call themselves being more humane. And what they're doing is creating parking areas so people can park, so they can live in their cars and they can park. But that is not at all solving the problem. This is a healthy society to live in. This is healthy. Human trafficking. Human trafficking is now part of the lexicon. Human trafficking. And mind you, I see all kinds of signs. On public transportation I use all the time. I see all kinds of signs where people, I see all kinds of signs where they criminalize people being homeless. They criminalize homelessness. They make it illegal to do this, illegal to do that. They got all kinds of signs letting it be known they don't want you here. You know, you can't sit for 2 hours in a public train station. If you do, you'll be arrested. If you're sitting on the stairs, you can be arrested and ejected from the station. They've done things like remove the backs from seats to make it as uncomfortable as possible so people won't just sit there. You know, they do all kinds of things. They got signs making it illegal for people to wash up in a bathroom. All kinds of signs criminalizing the behavior of homelessness. You know how many signs I've seen pertaining to human trafficking in these public transportation centers? Do you know how many signs I've seen? Zero. None. No signs to show that they are doing anything to fight human trafficking. There are no signs posted anywhere about if you're a runaway, who can you call? There are no signs posted anywhere about if you need help, who can you call? I would think that they would have all kinds of signs posted in train stations such as New York Penn Station. I would think they'd have all kinds of signs posted in every train station and every bus stop. I would think there would be billboards that would say, if you are a runaway, if you are in trouble, or if you suspect that somebody is being trafficked, here is who you can call. Not one sign ever have I seen. I might see a little mention of something on the internet, but no signs, and none of these very public places. There are all kinds of signs criminalizing homelessness. Is that a healthy society? Is that the kind of society we want to live in? And then I read something the other day that took my breath away. It really did. You know, sometimes you read these kind of things and you just have to pause a moment. But I read where people are selling their blood in the United States to get extra income. In other countries, you cannot do that. They have outlawed that because they don't want people to, they think it's unhealthy for people to try to make ends meet by selling their blood. They think that's unhealthy. When people donate blood, you know, you got to build your system back up. And in other countries, they have halved the number of times that people are allowed to give blood. The United States does not do that. The United States says that people can give blood at least twice a week. I think that's outrageous. I think that borders on criminal, because they know that anybody who gives blood twice a week, quote unquote, give, but what they're really doing is being paid to donate, to volunteer their blood. They're being paid to do it. But evidently people who will do that are facing dire circumstances. But don't worry about that. The United States, they're constantly thinking about ways that they can capitalize off of everything. So because people are so dire and because they're selling their blood, the United States now has created a multi-billion-dollar industry of selling blood internationally. So I have to ask you again. What does it mean to be healthy? What does it mean to be healthy in a society, under a system that is so unhealthy, under a system that was founded on genocide, enslavement, and that just continues some literation of it, some variation of doing the same thing, constant wars. Only 26 years of its existence has it not been at overt war. It's always been a war domestically with black people and other people who are not white, other people of color. It's always been at war with us. But what does that mean? I just want to know. So I put it out there to you. What is health? What does it mean to be healthy? And can you be a vegan and be pro-war? Or can you be a vegan or be into health and just not give a shit about war and just be silent about what's going on? Just turn your back to these things. I don't think that's a healthy way at all to live. I really don't. And I always say that health is political, and I don't want to live healthy in a world of war. I don't want to live healthy in a government that has so much ammunition, so many weapons that they can bomb the world 4 and 5 times over, and that they use all of their military might to invade other countries, to extract their resources. I don't want to live healthy in a country like that. That to me is not living healthy. That's not an ideal. That's not a destination. I don't want to live healthy as a black person in a racist society. I don't want to live healthily in that society. I don't want to live healthy in a society in which the environment continues to be destroyed and in which there is something now called displacement disaster, in which so many of these other countries are being devastated. Some of the non-industrial countries are being devastated. And I got to hear about them being washed away out of their homes because of things that this country is doing, the CO2 emissions that are being emitted. I don't want to, that's not a healthy way to live. That's not a healthy society to live in. I surely don't want to live in a society. I don't want to be healthy and indifferent. I don't want to be that. So, again, I'm just curious as to what people think, and I thought that this really needs to be brought up. We are going into, about 19 years of overt war, which means that we literally have a generation that has now grown up and have never known one day at all of their childhood, of their growing up, in which we're not at war. They don't know what that looks like. They don't know what that looks like. And not to mention, because I'm surely not indifferent to those who have been bombed to death with constant war, like in Afghanistan. That literally means that there are people who have grown up, don't know a damn day of peace in their life, thanks to the United States and the American public. So something to think about. What does health mean to you?